What are the most recent highlights from Indonesia and around the world? We provide the most recent news in a timely, accurate, and up-to-date. Hi, I am Jenny from Berita24.com. Dow Jones Futures, market rebounds strongly as a result of Russia invasion sanctions, these stocks soar. Dow Jones Futures, as well as S&P 500 and Nasdaq Futures, fell overnight. The stock market recovered strongly Thursday from steep losses, led by technology stocks such as Palo Alto stock. The United States and Europe announced tougher sanctions against Russia in response to its sweeping invasion of Ukraine, but the penalties were not as severe as feared. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 accelerated their gains, while the Dow Jones recovered to close slightly higher. This marks the start of an attempt at a stock market rally. However, it is not a green light for investors. Palo Alto Networks, PANW, and other cybersecurity stocks, such as Fortinet, FTNT, Datadog, DDoG, and ZS stock, soared. However, Scalar, ZS, fell overnight after reporting earnings. Meanwhile, Microsoft, MSFT, recovered 5.1% after falling below its base low. Both Apple, AAPL, and Expedia, EXPE, rallied off key support, with Apple up 1.5% and Expedia stock down 2.5%. Microsoft stock remains below its 200-day moving average, while Apple's stock is below its 50-day moving average, so neither is actionable. However, EXPE stock is in a buy zone. Banks were among the worst performers, with JP Morgan Chase, JPM, and Bank of America, BAC, leading the way. Sanctions against Russian banks will have a global impact on financial markets. Fears of slower economic growth and flattening yield curves weighed on everyone from Wall Street titans like JP Morgan to foreign banks and regional lenders as the Federal Reserve prepared to begin rate hikes. While JPM stock and other financials rallied off intraday lows, the charts have deteriorated significantly in recent weeks. Gold, which served as a safe haven during the recent sell-off, fell 3% on Thursday after rising 3% overnight. Newmont Mining, NEM, which narrowly outperformed expectations early Thursday, jumped to 70.37 shortly after the market opened. However, NEM stock fell 2.2% to close at 66.72, briefly undercutting the 65.59 buy point. Expedia and Microsoft stock are on the IBD leaderboard. IBD long-term leaders include Microsoft and FTNT stock. The video embedded in this article discussed Thursday's wild swings, as well as JP Morgan stock, NEM stock, and PANW stock. Futures on the Dow Jones today. Dow Jones Futures fell 0.5% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures fell 0.7%, while Nasdaq 100 futures fell 1.1%. Crude oil futures have risen by more than 2%. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 1 basis point to 1.96%. Remember that overnight trading in Dow futures and other markets does not always translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Thursday's stock exchange. The stock market fell sharply on Thursday as Russia launched its full-fledged invasion of Ukraine, but it recovered to close higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.3% in Thursday's stock market trading, with Microsoft stock helping to offset JP Morgan and other drags. The S&P 500 index rose 1.5%. The Nasdaq Composite rose 3.3%. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index gained 2.6% after just undercutting its January lows near the open. Crude oil prices in the United States rose 0.8% to $92.81 per barrel after reaching a high of $100 overnight. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 1 basis point to 1.97%, still well above the early lows of 1.89%. ETFs among the best ETFs, the Innovator IBD 50 ETF, FFTY, increased 2.35%, while the Innovator IBD Breakout Opportunities ETF, BOUT, increased 0.1%. The iShares Expanded Tech Software Sector ETF, IGV, gained 6.1%. Microsoft stock is a major component of IGV, as are Palo Alto, Fortinet, DDoG stock, and ZS stock. The VanEck Vectors Semiconductor ETF, SMH, increased by 3.4%. The SPDR S&P Metals and Mining ETF, XME, fell 1.2%, with NEM stock being a major component. The Global ex-US Infrastructure Development ETF, PAVE, gained 1.5%. The U.S. Global JETS ETF, JETS, rose 0.3%. SPDR S&P Homebuilders ETF, XHB, gained 2.6%. The Energy Select SPDR ETF, XLE, fell 0.8%. The Financial Select SPDR ETF, XLF, lost 1.2%, with JP Morgan stock and Bank of America both major holdings. The Healthcare Select Sector SPDR Fund, XLV, gained 0.4%. ARK Innovation ETF, ARKK, and ARK Genomics ETF, ARKG, both recovered 7.8% after reaching 20-month lows on Wednesday, reflecting more speculative story stocks. Cybersecurity stocks. While tech and growth names generally rebounded on Thursday, with software among the leaders, cybersecurity plays were especially hot. Prior to the physical invasion, Russia launched massive cyber attacks against Ukraine. Investors believe that cybersecurity will be a priority for governments and businesses. Palo Alto stock jumped 13% to $539.94 on heavy volume. It is regaining ground above the 50-day moving average, as well as breaking through a trend line and short-term resistance. The relative strength line for PANW stock has reached a new high. In a stronger market, PANW stock would be flashing clear buy signals as an early entry. The traditional buy point for the stock is 572.77. FTNT stock jumped 11% to 316.45. Putting it back above its 200-day moving average and just below its 50-day moving average. In better times, reclaiming the 50-day moving average and a trend line just above that key level would be an aggressive entry. Short-term resistance just above those levels would also be a bullish signal. The starting point for buying is 371.87. Datadog stock increased 7% to 159.86, putting it back above its 50-day moving average. Shares are in the midst of a messy consolidation with a deep handle, with an 184.80 buy point. The RS line for DDOG stock isn't far from a high. Scalar stock soared 10% to 263.38 on Thursday, a penny below its 200-day moving average. Scalar earnings surpassed expectations after the market closed. However, ZS stock dropped overnight, returning to near 2022 lows. Analysis of the market. The stock market had a wild session on Thursday. As Russia invaded Ukraine with overwhelming force, the major indexes gaped openly. However, they rebounded strongly as the West responded with tougher sanctions, but not so far-reaching that they are expected to have a devastating impact on the global economy. After several days of selling, the stock market was arguably due for a bounce. On Wednesday, the major indexes fell below their January 24 lows, with the Nasdaq briefly entering a bear market on Thursday. As a result, this bounce could fade quickly. After a string of distribution days and despair, it was a heartening session in high volume. For the time being, Thursday marked the first day of a stock market rally attempt on the major indices. Beginning late next week, investors may be looking for a follow-through day to confirm the new market rally. Even if the market rally continues and a follow-through day occurs, not all confirmed uptrends are effective. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq both experienced FTDs on January 31, but the uptrend quickly ran into trouble, eventually collapsing on Wednesday. In late 2018, the market experienced two failed FTDs before finally bottoming on Christmas Eve that year. In the current environment, where headlines can send the market in wildly divergent directions, it will be difficult to have faith in any market rebound, let alone a confirmed rally. What should you do now? When stocks and major indices are rebounding from steep intraday losses, it can be tempting to try to get in at the bottom. However, there is a high risk that the market will quickly reverse and drop to new lows. Even the upside could be limited if the market advances for a few days and then stalls. The last few months have demonstrated the dangers of becoming overly aggressive and failing to scale back. Investors now require patience. Wait for a follow-up day to take action. Even so, you should gradually increase your exposure, especially if your purchasing options are limited. For the time being, continue to work on your watch lists. The volatile market correction is appending potential leaders yet again. Names in cybersecurity are rising again, while banks are falling behind. Put PANW stock on your watch list, along with other security software names, though perhaps not Scalar. But who knows which sectors and stocks will stand tall when a new market uptrend finally takes hold. So cast a wide